The following is rated M for mature.
It's a trap!
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Greetings fellow blockade runners, and welcome. For those of you that are in the United States, happy Thanksgiving. If the turkey and stuffing doesn't fill you, I sure hope this hits the spot. First off, let me start by saying that I apologize for my absence. I cannot even begin to tell you the amount of drama that has been piling up in B-Runner's personal life. But, I'm not here to give you a sob story. Much has happened in the Old Republic community as of late, so let's jump right in. One of the biggest pieces of news is that this weekend there will be the next, and most likely last, beta testing weekend. This will be their last attempt at truly stress testing their servers. But I have noticed that there has been some confusion. Well, not really confusion. More like, people are not reading the fine print. I hate to always be the bearer of bad news, but for a good amount of people, this will not be a full weekend of testing. BioWare is staggering the weekend, just like they plan to do for early access. So the order in which you receive your new email for testing is the order you will get into beta. So far it sounds like you will either get in Friday, Saturday or Sunday all at 10 in the morning. By now you should have all received your emails. I know this angers a lot of people. But for once, let me play devil's advocate. I know we are all very excited, especially since launch day is approaching fast. But we have to keep in the back of our minds that this is beta. This really is not for our benefit, it is for the health and well-being of the game itself. I know this is a chance for some of us to finally get our hands on the game and play. But keep in mind that it is going to be a massive stress test. Not sure what that will mean for you? Well, let me tell you this. The recent beta weekend, yours truly was invited. That's right, this guy right here got to get his hands on the game. That weekend was also used as a stress test since they invited a lot more people than they usually have. There were multiple times that I got stuck in queue. And I am not talking about a queue of 20 or 30, I am talking about a queue, on average, over 700 to 900. I had to wait for around 3 to 4 hours to finally get logged in, just to have the server need to be reset, or the client crash on me, which put me right back to the back of the queue yet again. And since this weekend would be massive, it will probably be the exact same way or worse. Now, I am not telling you this to piss you off, just like everything else I tell you guys, it's to prepare you for the worst. The second big news story as of late is that the NDA has officially been dropped. Ever since, there has been an explosion of content, news articles, and streams popping up everywhere you look. I can personally compete with all of that. But what I can do is share with you my experience in the beta. So without further ado, here is my report card for the Old Republic. The first subject I graded was graphics. I am really impressed with how BioWare's art team handled this task. Let me start off by saying that they are not jaw-dropping by any means. But the art style they put together I think works, and looks really great together. They tried to take photorealism, and a cartoon-style feel, and mixed it together to make a real nice-looking offspring. Compared to other MMOs as of late, they really do stand out. If you are used to the extreme cartoon feel of WoW, you will be amazed by Tower. When the camera gets up close for a mission conversation, it really looks great. The only thing I would have changed is their teeth. Every person in the Old Republic has some amazingly pearly whites. It does not stand up to games like Age of Conan when it comes to photorealism, but I still think they did a good job. The part that really stood out to me was the particle effects. The things like grenades exploding, blaster shots and smoke, they are really nicely done and are very smooth. I did have to take some points off due to some sloppy textures though. It seems like some look great and some are unbearable to look at. But the most disappointing thing about that is that some of the sloppy textures are on things like armor pieces, which is up close to the camera all the time. But then, I gave them some extra points for being able to get these good-looking graphics onto a very forgiving system requirement. So, for graphics, I give the Old Republic a 9. Our next subject is audio. Most people overlook this feature in most MMOs, since they usually turn it off. But for me, good sound effects can really immerse you into the game. And I am happy to say that the Old Republic does just that. The buzzing and crackling sound of my lightsaber as I take it from my belt and smack a person in the face is very recognizable. Or the sound of a grenade as I launch it from my trooper's weapon are just simply amazing. Every attack sounds different, which seems like a small thing, but it really helps. I also have to say that the voice acting is really top-notch. Granted, I only got to play for the weekend, but I did not find one quest giver that I thought was boring, or sounded like their acting belonged in a porno. But let's not forget the soundtrack. There isn't much to say here. If you are a fan of Star Wars, you know how great the music is, and the Old Republic is not the exception to the rule. So, for audio, I give the Old Republic a 10. Really great job. Our next subject was character creation. I have to say, I was a little let down. There are a good amount of options, but coming from a company like BioWare, I was expecting something more in-depth. That's being said, they blow games like WoW out of the water. There are 4 main body types, multiple options for jewelry, skin color and tone, etc. But for things like hair, I was hoping for something more normal. They definitely got some interesting looking dudes, but sometimes you just want something not so flashy. I also would have liked to see some more classic Star Wars races. I understand why some are not in the game, they do need to speak basic language, so you're not reading subtitles the whole game. But things like Rhodians, Trandoshians, and Mon Calamari would have been great to see. But hey, there are always expansions, right? Now, the cyborg race, I hate it, I really do. The biggest problem with them is that they are only human cyborgs. So if you were hoping to be a Twi'lek with a cyborg eyeball, you were SOL. The next thing is that the options for customizing them are simply terrible, they really are. The only things you can change are on their face. So if you wanted a Anakin robotic arm, sorry. And the features they give look like they are painted on, instead of protruding outward. They really dropped the ball with them. What BioWare should have done was to mix the different cyborg parts into the character creator, that way any race could get a certain cyborg part if they wanted. But that still wouldn't change the fact that all the pieces just look so cheap and rushed. So, for character creation, I give the Old Republic a 7. Our next subject is combat gameplay. First off, let me get this out of the way. The controls for movement and combat are pretty much a carbon copy of WoW. Now, that being said, that's not a bad thing. The one thing that I always found great about WoW was the controls. So for those who are hating that SWTOR is like WoW in this aspect, stop it, just stop. It's better than coming up with something else new and odd and have people hate it. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I am in love with the combat in the Old Republic. I was hearing a lot of bad reviews about it early on, so I was going in skeptical. But let me tell you, the choreographed combat is amazing. The visuals combined with the great audio make it when you get that last strike in on the enemy, and he goes down in unison, damn, it is hot. As for the ranged characters, there are many attacks that are instants. So if you like to run and gun, you are gonna love it. Very rarely have I seen abilities that you need to charge, but there are some you channel. But the ability to jump from cover to cover, toss grenades, fire from the hip, and doing this all while running all over the place, it's just plain fun to play. So, For combat, I give the Old Republic a 10. Our next subject is story. Now, being a BioWare game, my expectations were very high. I got to say that the story is okay. Again, I only played for the weekend, but the story was pretty much straightforward and very predictable. But the fact that the story is present and fully voiced made me add a few more points. The story being right in your face all the time will actually help promote a roleplay element for those players who usually could care less about it. I have to warn you though. This could cause a high divorce rate for players, especially if you are in the middle of major story conversation, and your significant other walks in and starts talking to you. Just try to refrain from giving them their daily dose of medicine. I promise, it most likely won't be worth it. So, for story, I give the Old Republic a 9. So, for the total grade, the Old Republic gets an 8.5 on their report card. Great job. Also keep in mind that this grade is only based off a 2-day binge where my highest character was only level 18. I did not get the chance to really check out crafting, PvP, or any flashpoints. But if you are new to the MMO genre, or are looking for some fresh new scenery, then the Old Republic isn't going to disappoint. In closing, I hope this honest beta review will help prepare you for the upcoming weekend. I know it wasn't full of good picture from my beta experience. Unfortunately, I was not one of the fan sites that got special access. So, I'm sorry you guys were punished with half-assed visuals today. There is a lot more I wanted to cover in this episode, but I was running out of time. But I wanted to make sure I got the review out to you guys before Friday. If you want more details about my review, feel free to email me. And after this weekend, email me your own report card on your experience. I would love to hear what everyone else thought. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that B-Runner himself will be appearing on his first true podcast this Tuesday on Nothing But Tower. So make sure to tune in and support him, since he will probably be acting like a nervous little girl. Until next time, friends, this is CR91, signing off.